Welcome back, everyone, to the Ops Show, where we bring you the trials and tribulations, automations, and collaborations from the world of DevOps and the greater developer experience. I'm your host, Tristan Pollock, and as always, with CTO.ai founder Kyle Campbell. In our best show yet, we have Lizzie Siegle, developer evangelist at Twilio, and she also loves to code music, coffee, and book quotes. So I'm very excited to hear about some of these projects that you've been working on that sound very therapeutic. You're also going to demo Twilio's SMS chatbot functionalities and the serverless environment. So excited to go deeper into that Twilio realm and see some of the things that you're going to show us in a little bit here. And welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on to the Op Show with us.
Thank you for having me, Tristan. Very excited.
So how we always like to start everything off is just to hear a little bit about your code journey. How did you get into code, and how did you kind of string us along until now that you joined Twilio and as a developer advocate?
Yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area, but none of my family works in tech, and it's kind of weird, like being surrounded by it, but like I never wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Till the end of high school, my mom was like, you should go to this all-girls coding camp for one day. Because, I guess I wanted to be a teacher. But parents are always like, you can always do like STEM or like something else. So I went, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was inspiring, and the instructors debunked all these preconceived stereotypes I had about programmers and code. It was about like solving problems and brainstorming and collaborating and seeing a problem and then being all, oh, I can fix that, or I can make something that can help that problem. So after that, I studied computer science in college, and now here I am at Twilio, where I interned before. So I guess like internships help.
That's awesome.
Oh, I got you. How did you end up getting the internship, and I guess so then you continued on to full-time employment with Twilio after the internship?
Yes. I was an intern at a different startup called PubNub in San Francisco. And one of my other PubNub interns knew someone on my Twilio team. And he introduced me, and then I ended up meeting other people at Twilio and on the evangelism team. And then when I went back to school the next semester, I cold emailed him like, hey, we met. I don't think you remember me, but I'd love to intern on your team. And then I interned on the team, and here we are. And I guess don't be afraid to cold email, and networking really helps. But like, don't like act like it's networking. Act like it's like be natural.
I heard a really cool story from someone on Twitter actually today or yesterday where, I can't remember the team. I think it was Segment, and it was actually relative to everything that's going on. I'm sure we'll get into that later. But and his story was not just cold emailed. He started submitting pull requests, and then cold emailed. I think it was the CTO co-founder of Segment, and they were already familiar with his work, and it went a long way. So that tenacity really helps, I guess.
Yes, it does. Someone I know who interned at Twilio before me had used Twilio at a hackathon, and his like hack that used Twilio was so impressive, it made like a lot of headlines actually. And now it's like a startup that he's not a part of anymore. But that definitely helped him get his internship. Like using the product or the company before you work there is like,
yeah,
galaxy brain. I mean, good.
Yeah, my last startup, our first engineer I hired, I'd never met him before. He's from Vancouver. Give him a shout out, Luke Vivier, if you're out there, Luke. He just one day tweeted me and he said, hey, look at this thing I built with you guys. And we were ready for our first hire, and it was just a prototype. Met him the next day, and there we go, engineer number one.
I love that. So, Lizzie, talk a little bit about some of I was looking through all these little projects that you've done that have related to some of my favorite things: music, coffee, books. What's been, and was that kind of like some of these projects was a chance to kind of play with some of the technologies that you were considering going into, or how did you start kind of working on some of these things, and maybe explain one or two that would be interesting?
Yeah, I think as a developer evangelist and advocate, I really like being able to make demos and use different libraries and combine them with Twilio products, or even just like testing out libraries and tools that don't necessarily relate to Twilio, but they relate to developers. And I guess that's a big part of my job, relating to developers. So I get to try a lot of different things. And I made music with Node.js. There's a library called Scribbletune, NPM module. You write some JavaScript, and then you generate notes. You can do like A, B, C, or D. You can have different scales, different chords, C#, etc. And then when you run the file, you generate a MIDI file, which is a type of music file, and you can drop it in music software like GarageBand, and then you can play the music. So that was the first technical talk I gave, I think, at Twilio, and it was just, I don't know, like kind of silly, kind of simple, kind of fun. Everyone likes music, I hope, and I liked being able to incorporate Disney. I'm a Disney fan, so like I played Disney music, like with code. And then of course at the end I had to tie in Twilio, so I had people text in to a phone number different notes, like C, C#, F, I don't know what people sent in.
That's cool.
Like we played a song at the end, and it was like this whole meetup made music together, and it was like
Oh,
this
wow.
mashup of who knows what. Like,
That's cool. Did it sound good?
it did not. That's what happens when like you text in who knows what.
Yeah. It's fun to just set it up like almost an experiment. You don't know what's going to happen. Is the technology all works, but then can we interact with it? I miss some of that. Like that was really a big thing, especially in the early Node.js days. I remember being at NodeConf or Node Summer Camp back in I think like 2008 or something, and they had drones, and we were controlling drones using our laptops and getting them to fly around and do different things. And it was just crazy to see how much of the world you can open up beyond your typical just website. And that must be something that you get to do a lot with Twilio, because I know that that's what I would even think of as a novel developer experience. And I know Twilio's put so much work into helping people to understand how to use it. But can you talk a little bit more about day-to-day? Like what are some of the things that you're demoing that's a little bit more brass tacks to help people understand how to be successful with Twilio, maybe in a more professional setting when they're trying to deliver things on the job?
Yeah, I think Twilio has really expanded our portfolio of products, and I honestly can't keep up with everything. Like people talk about products, and I'm like, I know we have that, but I honestly have never used it before. But I do like being able to dabble in different products and trying to help people figure out alongside them how to do something. I've worked on documentation, created some code snippets, tutorials to help them send text messages, make chatbots, incorporate different libraries if they want to like save some user input to say MongoDB or Firebase database. What else? I think to help people be successful with Twilio, it really depends on the person and the ask. I really like answering questions on Stack Overflow as well, even though like sometimes I get downvoted and I'm like, that works. I answered it.
Yeah, that was the right question. I know that was the right answer. Yeah, that's awesome. It's such a great product, and one of the things that I realized when I first worked with it is I just appreciated how awesome it was from a 10x multiplier over the old way of doing these things with like PBX. But I think people didn't realize it right out of the gate. And that's where I know Twilio spent a lot of time in the early days, or at least I've heard, evangelizing and doing the kind of good work you are. How's that changed for you now? I assume since going remote, did you sort of also have some of that experience when it was more in person in conferences? And are you finding it easier or harder to support the community with these ideas now that the whole world has gone to this sort of remote and digital by default model?
Yeah, that's a great question. The evangelism team has always been remote. So each person like has a metro area. I'm in the Bay Area. I have teammates in London, Tokyo, Australia, New York, Seattle area, Philadelphia. And we all like cover that area in terms of meetups, but we also do fly around. So we do leave our areas. Now that there's no in-person events, there's a lot of virtual conferences. So we've been using Restream a lot of OBS, speaking to people over YouTube and Twitch and different virtual conferences. I keep repeating that, but just because there's a lot of virtual events now.
A lot.
Yes.
Have you had any favorites recently, or like anything unique that you've seen stand out that's, maybe not completely replicated the in-person experience, but has, given a little bit of extra pizzazz using a virtual environment?
There's a lot of different ways of doing virtual events. And I honestly haven't been a big fan of any of them, but I think part of it's like I'm getting screen fatigue. And like, you just cannot replicate the community of being in person together. And when someone's giving a talk and it says like 100 people are watching, you're like, are they really though? Like, they could be like with their cat or like their kids, or like, I don't think that all of them are actively paying attention. Versus like if it's in person, like, yeah, I know people are on their phones and other things, but like I can see them, like they're in the room.
There's a social pressure to pay attention. 'Cause I mean, I can speak for that from I've been to 4 conferences in the last 2 weeks, and both of them were last week. There were 2 at the same time. This week are the 2 at a time, and I kind of have them playing in the background, and they only ever have part of my attention. So I definitely think that's true, and it's harder to make a bigger splash in a smaller pond when you can sort of get face to face with people and really hear them.
I agree. And like some events have taken away the chat aspect. So like you might chat in a Slack channel, but like not like on the same platform as the live stream. And it's just harder to like, I guess, know that people are watching and like to see like how people are reacting. So I appreciate when people like send an emoji or like a thank you after. But in the moment, it's like you're talking to like a camera, or like you're watching a camera, and it's I want to see some platform that replicates the community aspect. And
even right now, we're streaming on 4 different services at the same time, and so even if we were to, Restream does its job and sort of aggregates content up, you still don't really have that sort of connection with, because it's spread across these 3 or 4 different platforms at the same time. So it's kind of a question of which room is the person watching you from. You're never in any of the rooms. It's like when you're in the overflow section of a conference and you're watching the live conference on a TV, right?
Yes.
Well, Lizzie, one thing I was really excited about recently that I discovered and was a great intro into Twilio was Twilio Quest. And I think you were going to as one of what I kind of added that to the list of demos, but why don't you take us a little bit into Twilio Quest, and then, and kind of kick off the demos and go in any direction that you want to after that.
Sounds good.
All right. I'll pull it up here. Boom. Boom.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know, Twilio Quest is our online training program that teaches people how to code and different Twilio skills. It's a role-playing game RPG in the style of 18-bit era. I feel like I'm not a gamer, so I sometimes mix up is it 18-bit? There's definitely a certain style to these old-fashioned, maybe not old-fashioned, these video games.
The originals, kind of the first screen.
Nintendo. We call it the Nintendo era.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So here we are. I have an avatar, and I am currently at 0 experience points because I just downloaded Twilio Quest to my new laptop, and I have more elsewhere. Okay. New operator detected. Neural connection to the cloud has been established, and life sign readings are within normal human range. Welcome aboard the Fog Owl. And I'm going to say I still feel a little disoriented. And you can't hear what Cedric, the robot, is saying, but I can hear him speaking out what you can read here. So how can I navigate this virtual environment? You can move your avatar around using the arrow keys or WASD. You can also talk to people on the ship. Okay, I'm going to end conversation and move on. And that's me walking. What happens if I press spacebar? Okay, I'm going to say, what can I do next? You know what, I'm going to end conversation and just walk around. I'm clicking the arrow keys. What happens here? Okay, these are training missions. Okay. Basic training is probably the first one you should do, but you can see like you can learn JavaScript, some open source. I think that's PHP. Messaging is a different Twilio product. Voice, phone calls, the flame of open source. This was for Hacktoberfest last year, I believe. Mysteries of the Pythonic Temple teaches you Python. I have not seen Capture the Flag. That's new. Twilio Studio is for our studio project, which is like a drag and drop UI for, so it's no code, but it does connect to SMS, voice, and other Twilio products. Advent of Code was from the holidays last year. The CLI, Twilio has a CLI now. Twilio Flex, a programmable call center. Twilio Video, video app, video API. SendGrid, which we acquired 2 years ago. It's been a while. Email. And Twilio IoT. Oof, that's a lot.
So you can kind of go through all these different modules, and it brings you kind of into that experience to like learn how to onboard yourself to Twilio with these different aspects.
Yes. So if you look at launching the basic training mission, equip yourself with the skills and knowledge you will need to safely explore the cloud. And the cloud is like where we are in the Twilio Quest world.
This is cool. This reminds me of Streams Adventures, which is what they released in the Node community to try and help people learn streams, but it was more just the command line text-based journey that you'd see. This is way more interactive.
Yeah. So how do I complete this training exercise? You want to reach the exit area north. And okay. So I'm going to walk around. That's Cedric, who I can talk to if I have any questions. Press the spacebar because I want to clear this hurdle. Okay. We're going to use the hacking interface to bypass the security of the locked barrier. This will get you 100 XP, and you do collect swag, virtual swag. So you can get like new clothes or like shoes. The objective describes what you need to do to break the lock. The objective tab. Okay, click hack. Enter the passphrase. Okay, so I'm going to do something, get a passphrase, put it here beneath locked. Show help. Okay. I think these are still directions. Huh. Here's the code you need for the chest in southwest corner of the area. The objective tab. Okay, I feel like I need to read directions. And the objective tab is to the passphrase. This is a lot of text. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Okay. I think it's like so you. I thought it onboarded really well when I was playing it because it was like, okay, it's really really clear. Like it over explains exactly what you need to do, and then I'm guessing as time goes on, you kind of get more into the code and less into like the video game.
Yeah, I just typed in level up. I had to do some reading. But I swear there's coding challenges. So this is for the code editor for JavaScript. We're going to try out a built-in code editor. Going to run some code. The application is available at this localhost URL. Once the application is running, paste that URL into the text field on the right and click hack. Show help. Going to run some code in the code editor. Require HTTP, create a server. I feel like I could be reading more.
This all makes sense.
Yeah. I've been running this contest with college students. I'm going to try just doing that. And I got mad at them for like not reading, but I don't read myself sometimes.
I feel like you could put this in front of a young child. Like I have a 4-year-old, and I think a lot about how to help him start learning about computers. And something like this, I feel like you could put it in front of them, and they would be able to go through all of this information very quickly and sort of just figure it out. But we got to pause and read, right?
Yes. It's like, I swear, like, there's more fun missions, like, where you don't need to read as much. Or I guess you do need to read, but, like, where you do more, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes, like, the beginning is, like, you have to get past, like.
Yeah, just to make sure that you don't get stuck in the first, 5% of the game, so you actually can move on. But it was I thought this was such a creative way to help someone learn a platform. How long has Twilio Quest been around, and do you have any idea of how many people have used it or completed it or any data like that?
It's been around since, I believe, 2018. There's the first version, which was like in the web browser, but this itself, what I'm using now that you see, is a web app. Well, not a web app, but a desktop application that you download, and it's on your computer. So not in a web browser. I'm not sure of certain numbers. I could check for you, but I do know we hit a certain milestone recently. Something that the Twilio Quest team does measure is missions completed and experience points received. We have certain workshop days called super classes where we used to get a lot of people in a room together, and they would just like do Twilio Quest together. And it's like, yes, people can do it on their own time, at home. But with super classes, we'd have like engineers walking around, answering questions. Different companies would send people to super classes, be like, ask about this product, or get to know like the people who work on different products.
Do you know how did this come about? And like, was this kind of from the, developer advocacy side of Twilio, or like, how did this project become a thing?
That's a great question. This was spearheaded by a former Evangelist advocate, Kevin Winnery, who, I guess at Twilio, we have a developer relations team called the Developer Network, and there's a lot of sub-teams underneath that. There's the evangelism team, and the education team, and the community team. Evangelism does more, I guess, events and technical content, and then the education team works on the documentation, and they also work on super classes now, and Twilio Quest. And a lot of the education team used to be evangelists, or we work together, like they do evangelism work, we do education work. It kind of like blends together sometimes. But I honestly don't know how Kevin got the idea. I should ask him. I've been working with him on the college contest around Twilio Quest, but he was like the lead developer, and it's crazy, I guess, how it's grown, how it went from just him making the web-based version to now it's like this desktop application, and there's a whole Twilio Quest team now. I've been working with another of the Twilio Quest developers, Ryan, for the college contest, and people ask me about Twilio Quest often. Like, there's not many other training programs like it. It really gamifies learning different skills, and as someone who works at Twilio, like, I don't need to do Twilio Quest. Like, I use our products enough, but I've found myself wanting to do it, to like get different swag items or decorate my avatar in a certain way, get more experience points. And it's really neat to like, I guess, see what other people see and help provide that feedback to make it better as well.
Was it inspired by any of the actual early games in the PC era? Because I feel like I remember something like Space Quest, which when I was starting to learn how to just use a computer, like around the age of like maybe 8 or 10, and honestly, it felt a lot kind of similar. And so I'm like having all this crazy nostalgia watching go through this in a good way, where it's like almost just learning how to interact with a computer, but then obviously you're learning how to do things with Twilio at the same time. Was there sort of a backstory around the name Twilio Quest and the idea for the game that that was intentionally doing this nostalgia thing to me, or am I just out there?
Definitely intentional for the nostalgia.
Okay.
Something I like about superclasses is we hand out different prizes for things like someone who got the most experience points, or has the coolest avatar, or has a cool name. And we have like Minecraft themes, like foam swords, or like very video gamey prizes and like themes. So I think it's just really fun. And even as someone myself who doesn't like really video game, like I appreciate it. Like it's fun. And I read, what's that book called? Ready Player One. Like that gives me like the same vibe sometimes.
Well, this is so cool. I mean, I love the creativity around learning with Twilio Quest. Do you want to take us now into the chatbot arena or the serverless arena of Twilio and dive a little bit deeper under the hood?
Yes, I do. That's a good segue. This mission requires me to show some of my credentials, and I do not want to share my credentials because those are secret. So I am in my Twilio console. I need to pull up Autopilot, which is our bot building platform. Autopilot connects to a lot of different Twilio products, and it allows you to build a bot once and then deploy it across multiple communication channels. I'm going to show this bot that I made a few days ago and walk through the different channels or what you can deploy your bot across. You can have a phone call bot, chat, or messaging is like SMS, chat as in like web-based chat, or maybe chat on iOS or Android. You can deploy to Alexa, make an Alexa assistant, I think it's called, Alexa skill, Google Assistant, WhatsApp, Messenger, Slack. And tasks are what you want your bot to accomplish. And so we have like a greeting task. If you go to program, you can just write some JSON. And tasks are made up of verbs or actions. We have an actions array in JSON. And we use a say action to, if it's a phone call, it will speak out this text. And if it's like more of a text-based bot, it will like send it via typing like text. This is good bot best practice to say what your bot can do, set expectations. If you're a Star Wars fan, which is like the theme of this bot, welcome to the Mos Eisley Cantina. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. And then what the bot can do, I can provide you today's specials, connect you with the host, or help you make a reservation. Many bots nowadays are bots get stuck. So this Autopilot makes it easy to have a hybrid bot, where you speak with the bot, and then if the bot gets stuck, you can escalate to human agent. And then we have the listen action that keeps the line open, keeps this task open. Otherwise, like if it was a phone call, the phone call would end. How is the task triggered? You train the bot on different samples, which are different ways of saying the same thing, different things that the user might say. If you make a bot with code, you might use if-else conditionals to say, if these or say something that contains this word, do this thing, else do something else. But in the Autopilot console here, this eliminates the need for conditionals. So we have hey, hello, hi, etc. for the greeting task. And then we have a handoff, which will use a say action, and then a handoff action, which uses a post request with a phone call that points to a TWIML bin, which is a serverless environment for Twilio XML, Twilio's markup language. And this is the TWIML bin. It has a response, so you're in a phone call, and then you will dial a different number to like hand off to someone to start a new call. What else?
So to be a little bit curious, the samples are sort of like training an intent if you were doing sort of typical natural language processing using many of the different tools that are out there?
Yes. So Autopilot is, I guess, a machine learning product, but it really abstracts away a lot of the machine learning from the developer, from the builder. So it's trained on samples, and if you add a sample, like, let's add one to today's specials, like, what else could I say? Recommend. We add a sample, and then your edits need a model build. So we need to build a model, and this like adds this sample to the machine learning backend. So this will help the bot get smarter. Although like this is like a bad example because it's very simple, but this will add it to the natural language understanding backend. And then for another serverless environment, we have our make reservation task, which this is JSON again. It uses a collect action. We name the collect flow that we ask a series of questions regarding making a reservation. We say, what's your first name? And then we expect an answer of type first name. This is a built-in type. That's why it has Twilio in the front. Our engineers are adding different first names constantly because a lot of first names are not recognized. If it's like less common, perhaps. You can train your own type as well. We have Twilio.date. So if someone sends something that's not a date when asked, what day would you like your reservation for? We'll try to get it again, like ask again. And then after asking these questions, we redirect to a Twilio function, which is our serverless environment for Node apps. So let's open up this Twilio function, get data. So you could write other code like Python with Autopilot, but the Twilio functions is our serverless environment for web apps. I don't know about you, but I like serverless things because why would I want to spin up my own server?
Yeah.
I'd have to host it when there are tools that will do it for you and have 20% uptime.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. We talked to somebody yesterday from SuperPeer and this CTO there, and he had a great example of how beneficial serverless is in his business. One of the things that I think is often important, though, is being able to interface with these serverless things through the CLI. So does the CLI also expose your ability to interact with these if you didn't want to do it, say, through the web browser?
Yes. We have a Twilio CLI for serverless, where you can access your functions, create new functions, deploy new functions. You can add assets, which are like, if you want like a static file or what else? Something, you can add environment variables, dependencies like different node modules or libraries. There's an Autopilot CLI as well if you want to add samples all at once from the command line and more. What else? Lots of different things from the command line.
Cool.
And in this serverless function, we pull all the answers that someone gave us from memory. And this is very long. Twilio collected data, the make reservation task, answers, the answers array, the question party size, and then the answer to the question. And then we generate a JSON response, and then we return that. So this is a dynamic response based on what the user gave us. This differs from the JSON that we wrote before. That's static, and this is dynamic. You can also use functions with Autopilot to reach out to other services, like a database. This is an Axios example, but I've used MongoDB and Firebase from functions as well. And we can test this out. Let's see now. I need to pull up my phone number. I forget what number I connected this to. Phone number. Phone numbers. We can call our most icy bot. That okay?
Yeah, I'm going to beat you to it.
So,
Yeah, I was saying we should plug Kyle's phone number in here, and
Easy.
but then last time we did that on the live stream.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. I can provide you today's specials, connect you with the host, or help you make a reservation.
Can you hear that?
I can hear that.
What was the option that I'm supposed to pick?
Please reach out again if you need anything. Goodbye.
Oh, it hung up on me. I didn't give it the right answer.
So how was the voice evolution went? Have you seen quite a change in like the realism of the voice? And
Not totally. So you can change. I'm currently showing our style sheet. And this is where you can change the voice. It's currently Matthew, but there's other Alexa voices. I think there's some here. These are all Amazon Polly.
Okay.
There's different options. You can like have different accents, but Autopilot only supports English for now.
And what was the response I'm supposed to give it to have it to move on? It was make reservation, I think was one I saw.
Make reservation, ask for today's specials, or connect you with the host.
Okay, I'm going to try this again.
Welcome to the Mos Eisley Cantina. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. I can provide you today's specials, connect you with the host, or help you make a reservation.
Make reservation.
Great. I can help you with that. What's your first name?
Kyle.
What day would you like your reservation for?
Tomorrow.
Nice. At what time?
5 p.m.
No. You can go to queries, and I see what you said, but usually
cool.
It's trying to move on, but
I feel like
I think it's stuck.
They're fully booked.
They're fully booked. I'm on hold every time I talk. It confuses
I
it.
didn't get that. What did you say? Looks like I'm having trouble. Apologies for that. Let's start again. How can I help you today?
Oh, recovery. Make a reservation.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't get that. What did you say?
Make reservation.
I still didn't catch that. Please repeat.
It's the Canadian accent.
Make reservation.
Last time. Say it again, please.
All right, I'm going to give up now.
Yeah.
It's a crazy how resilient it is, though, because one of the things I love with these kinds of things is when I know it's a bot to try to trick it, and I wasn't trying there at all. Maybe it is the accent, but rarely do you see it recover the way that recovered, and it tries to keep going. It tries to keep going, and it's just like, I really can't understand you. You need to talk better, Kyle. So what do we see on the back end here? Let's debug this. Now I want it to work.
I think this has happened to me before where it's in the middle of a collect flow, so it's asking the series of questions, and then it doesn't say something, but what it wanted you to respond with was something about the next question, which it never asked you, but it was supposed to ask you.
Got it.
Or how many people. So I think it was expecting like a number for like how many people.
It didn't ask me that, though. It stopped after the 5 p.m. It got to Kyle tomorrow, and it got 5 p.m., but it never got to the how many people.
Yeah. So what we see is under queries is like what the user gave it.
Mm-hmm.
And it parses out the values. So 5 p.m. It knows it's like 1700 and like army time or whatever. And like the date. Like it parses out important information. So if you say 10 in the morning, it just does 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then it assigns it to a task. Like make reservation was the make reservation task. could I speak with host, please, goes to handoff task. We see the confidence score for how confident it is in what task it is assigned it. And then this was in the collect, flow, and make reservation, so it doesn't really have a task, but you could assign it if you wanted to. What else? That's about it. I've never really understood what pending is here under status.
Yeah.
View properties.
Pending review.
Yeah. Not really sure what that is. Or I'm not sure why you would also delete a query as well.
Well, this is really cool to see. Thanks for going through that, Kyle. Thanks for being the caller. What do Lizzie, like when we have the restaurant example, which is obviously probably, used quite a lot. What are some other use cases that you see that are highly common for, different types of companies? What do you see for like the tech industry, like customer support or?
A lot of customer support. So we have a programmable call center product called Twilio Flex, and Autopilot can integrate with Flex pretty easily. So you can have like a lot of different agents at the same time, and that can handle handoff to an agent a lot. So that's the hybrid method as well. During COVID, we've seen a lot of bots for restaurants, for parking, for delivery, a lot of Q&A bots, like also some personal, like here's a bot for a certain person, find out about this person.
Okay. And then with Q&A, is like surveying and like data gathering or?
Yes. So you could also make a quiz bot, like where you keep track of answers, and you can also limit the responses that people can give you. So for like a certain question, you could do like A, B, C, or D, like send back A, B, C, or D. Or you could keep it more open-ended, I guess, and like try to get someone to, well, I guess you can limit answers to like an array.
Well, there's been a lot of excitement around Twilio too recently, not only like since the IPO, but with like recent acquisitions. Any other news or interesting things with some of with Twilio recently that you'd like to share?
I think you're hinting at our segment acquisition.
Not much to hint at. It's big news and such a smart move by Twilio, I think, to populate this sort of technology across the whole customer engagement lifecycle. Not to take your words out of your mouth, but I think Segment's one of my favorite companies, and I put them right up there with Twilio, certainly.
Yeah, I'm excited for, I guess, pivoting less from communication and more into customer engagement.
Yeah. And
at first, I think some people were kind of like, we don't get why we're doing customer engagement, but I think it's a logical segue or like connection. Communication is connected to customer engagement. Like it's not that far-fetched, I think. So.
Yeah. And it brings the technology, this amazing technology that both Twilio and Segment had, closer to influencing those business drivers that help it to be a very successful company, and both together become very successful companies.
Yeah. And I think it's just another great developer-focused company, another SaaS.
I'm pulling this up here. The prediction of Kyle.
You don't have to comment on this. Don't comment on this. I thought it was such a cool thing, and when I played that out and thought about it, I said, well, who else is really mastering some of this customer engagement? And I've been having fun throwing out wild predictions recently, and one of the ones we really love, especially ones that fits just perfectly with Segment, has always been Intercom, for that sort of in-app and on-site level of communication, and the way that they help to build out the persona and just have fluid and nice communications with people in a way that works both for the people who are communicating on both sides. I think it's great. And And I'd love to see a day in the future where more of what Twilio and Segment are doing are happening at the application layer there as well. I think it's a big move forward for the way we communicate with our customers as small startups, especially.
I'll have to check Intercom out. I've heard of them. I know someone who works there, but like, honestly, do not know what they do exactly.
Yeah, well, it's basically a chatbot sort of thing too, but basically the idea is that it's the widget that goes on your website and it's sort of the support pop-up, but also they have a nice email integration. You consume information from things like Segment, and then you can sort of basically build out a persona and then communicate to that persona or that user based on actual parameters like how they've used your product. So it makes that actual communication loop with anybody who's used your product fluid and contextual, which is really nice.
Do you have any other?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lizzie.
Oh, thanks, Tristan. Do you have any other developer-centric companies you're a fan of, or like?
Yeah. I think there's probably a long list. I definitely would put Intercom up there, although I don't know if I would call it a developer-centric company, but definitely they have thought through software development. Obviously, we all love Stripe out there. I mean, they've done a great job. Some of the ones that are sort of maybe less known is there's one called Manifold by Jevon McDonald, who was also the founder of Go Instant. And they've done some really cool things with Manifold, which is about helping you sort of create a marketplace. And I'm sure I could go down a long list, but I'll just throw out that one now. So I really appreciate the work that Jevon and that team's done. They're from where I grew up in Nova Scotia, and they've been wildly successful and really pushed developer experience in a new way, I think. Also really, hey, shout out to HashiCorp and all the things that they announced today. I think that's been really great. And we're really excited about obviously the things that Slack is doing, because we're very Slack focused where they're going with their new event-based stuff. So I guess that's my list of shout outs.
It could go on and on with Kyle.
Yeah.
Well, Lizzie, we're almost at time. Any other shout outs you'd like to make? Oh, and where's the best place for people to find you online?
Yes. I would like to give a shout out to Twilio Quest. You should check it out.
Yeah.
If you haven't already. You can find me online on Twitter /Lizzie Pika, like Lizzie Lizzie, Pika Pik like Pikachu.
I love it. We'll drop those into the links at the bottom of the episode description.
Yes, thank you. Also, shout out, I guess, the Segment and SendGrid. I love the SendGrid team. I know the transition hasn't always been the easiest, but we've learned a lot, and I guess I always love adding people to the Twilio family.
That's awesome. It's been really great getting to know you and seeing everything that you're working on, Lizzie.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Now I'm going to play with some of our fun restream options here. If you want to continue the daily conversation, you can always join Lizzie and us in the community. There's the link. We'll drop it into the episode description as well. And I think that's it. If you can always subscribe and to never miss a video, and on Twitch and YouTube. And thanks for tuning in today. Kyle, normally I ask you to take us out, but
Take us out, Tristan.
Thanks, Lizzie, and thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Tristan. Thanks, Kyle.